This is Valley News Live at 10.
The owner between us and the range, he doesn't feel he's safe using his property because bullets whiz over his head.
Tonight, residents living near the Rush Lake Range in New York Mills, which is about 10 miles south of Perham, are now speaking out. Valley News Team's Alex Larson spoke with one family about how unsafe they feel having a shooting range so close to their home.
They've done nothing to take affirmative action on anybody's safety or concerns. They just keep shooting.
Jay Van Watermulen's property in New York Mills has been in his family for over 30 years. When Rush Lake Range opened 5 years ago, he and his neighbors started having close calls of being hit by bullets they say came from the range.
The range owners themselves know that there are people here, and yet they continue to let the shooting happen.
Van Watermulen says last week he saw a bullet hit the ground just a few feet away from him and his family.
The deputy got here. I started digging, and we found the bullet right here, about 8 inches underground.
Van Watermulen told us the berms at the range aren't big enough to keep people living around the area safe.
None of their berms are 20 feet tall out there. They don't have any side berms. They don't have any baffles. I'm unaware of any bullet catchers. They don't have enough land to contain the projectiles onto their property because, yeah, their property line from that berm is 250 feet.
He says his family is scared to be on their own property.
I made a fort. Me and my brother made a fort over there, and we're still working on it. Yeah, but after what happened, I don't even want to go out there anymore. I don't even want to look at the fort because I'm scared.
When they're shooting 3,750 feet, who's to say that that bullet can't travel another 1,200 feet? Because that's the distance they're shooting from up at that range.
Van Watermulen told us he's tried to talk to leadership at Rush Lake Range about the issue on several occasions.
Nothing was ever done then. They're not doing anything about it now. They're a for-profit company. They're taking profits over safety.
We reached out to Rush Lake Range and they declined to comment. In New York Mills, Alex Larson, Valley News Live.
Valley News Live also reached out to the Otter County Sheriff's Office but have yet to hear back. Meanwhile, one person is now in jail after leading law enforcement on a nearly 50-mile pursuit starting in Benson County and crossing into neighboring Ramsey County. According to the North Dakota Highway Patrol, a trooper attempted to stop the driver of a stolen vehicle on Highway 2 near Rugby. The driver fled and troopers made 2 attempts to stop the vehicle by using a tire deflation device. The chase later ended after law enforcement performed a pursuit intervention technique, causing the vehicle to run into a ditch. Charges are now pending for the driver. Fargo police are issuing a warning tonight after officers responded to 4 reports of smash and grabs this evening in a matter of 2 hours. The incidents occurred within a few blocks of each other, including at the Century Cinema Theater on 9th Avenue South. The suspects also hit vehicles parked at the Goodwill and the Holiday Inn, both on 13th Avenue South. The 4th incident took place in a parking lot in the 1000 block of 42nd Street South. Fargo PD is now reminding citizens to never leave valuables like purses or bags in their vehicle. They are also asking if you see anything suspicious in parking lots to call the Red River Regional Dispatch at 701-451-7660. A 34-year-old Park Rapids woman has died after her SUV collided with a farm tractor in Bemidji yesterday. Minnesota State Patrol says the woman driving in her SUV and a farm tractor were both traveling on Highway 71 near the Beltrami-Hubbard County line when they collided. The woman died while the driver of the tractor was unharmed in the accident. It is still unknown if alcohol was involved in the crash. 2 people were hurt in a 2-vehicle crash in Bemidji this morning. Law enforcement says an SUV was traveling east on Highway 2 when it collided with another SUV going south on Highway 71. A 41-year-old woman of LaPorte, Minnesota, was identified as the driver of the first SUV. She was traveling with another 44-year-old woman of Bemidji, along with 4 children ranging in age from 4 to 8. The occupants of that vehicle were not hurt during the crash. The driver of the second SUV and a passenger, both in their 60s, suffered non-life-threatening injuries. A newly declassified U.S. intelligence report is offering details about how agencies assess the origin of COVID-19. The 17-page document fleshes out a summary released in August that says the investigation is inconclusive. 4 agencies suspect with low confidence that the virus jumped from animals to humans. One suggests with moderate confidence it might have come from a lab. A report says the origin of COVID-19 is likely to remain a mystery unless China is more forthcoming with information. It also notes the U.S. intelligence community can't confirm a Wuhan lab was researching the virus that causes COVID-19. House Democratic leaders are pushing for votes on both the $1.2 trillion infrastructure bill and the larger $1.75 trillion economic plan as soon as Tuesday. A new version of the bigger bill with revisions might be introduced as soon as tomorrow. That means the Rules Committee could take up the rule as early as Monday. Then both bills could be on the floor by Tuesday. If it passes the House, the infrastructure bill would go to Biden's desk for his signature, while the economic bill would go to the Senate for a vote. A National Archives court filing shows former President Donald Trump is trying to keep hundreds of files from the House. A sworn declaration explains Trump wants to keep 700 pages from the files of his close advisors a secret. In those files are handwritten notes about the events on January 6th and draft speeches, among many other things related to the 2020 election and the attack on the Capitol. He's also trying to keep secret 30 pages of his daily schedule, White House visitor logs, and call records. The U.S. House has told a federal court Donald Trump has no right to keep confidential documents from his presidency. And another sign of progression at the G20 summit in Rome, the Biden administration has reached a deal to ease a Trump-era sanctions on aluminum and steel. In exchange, the European Union will drop its retaliatory tariffs against U.S. brands like Harley-Davidson and U.S. products like Kentucky bourbon. The agreement is a sign of de-escalating tensions between America and its European allies. The Biden administration will be repealing the 25% tariff on steel imports and a 10% tariff on aluminum levied in 2018 under former President Trump. U.S. manufacturers who rely on steel and aluminum had complained the tariffs hurt their business and caused an increase in consumer prices. Meanwhile, it has been another frustrating weekend for air travelers as American Airlines has been forced to cancel hundreds of flights. The airline says severe winds at its Dallas-Fort Worth hub forced it to cancel 342 flights alone yesterday. The ripple effect carried into this afternoon, canceling another 434 American airline flights. That amounts to 16% of its total schedule. American says most of its customers were able to rebook the same day. Later on Valley News Live at 10, small businesses are getting an economic boost thanks to local festivals and markets. But first, it's going to be a chilly and windy Halloween. Summer's next with details.